So once again, I've been introduced to an amazing book by someone who commented on an earlier video. It's a classic military science fiction book. I had never read it, and I am so excited to tell you about it. Please join the conversation. Hey everybody, welcome to D3 Reads. It's Eric. Thanks so much for joining. If you're in the States, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving week. I had a wonderful holiday. Skipped last week because of that, but we're back on track again, and we have officially, over the last couple of weeks, closed out our Spooktober horror book reads, at least for the time being, and we're transitioning now to my favorite subgenre, military science fiction. So today we're going to cover 5 classic military sci-fi books that I have yet to read, but I'm excited to try to finish up as we come to the close of 2025. Now, along with that, I am starting to put together my Christmas wish list of the books that I want to ask my family and friends for Christmas. And so I want to be covering that here in a week, maybe 2. But since I brought it up, I'd love to know from you, are there books, for those of you who celebrate Christmas or just want to get yourself or a gift for the end of the year, are there books that you're excited about this year that you're asking for the holidays, or maybe you're planning on getting early next year? I'd love some ideas to put onto my list. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have been turned on to so many great books by commenters that I would love to hear what it is that you are excited to read, and so I can consider to put it onto my wish list as well. So please comment. What are you excited about getting either at the end of the year or looking forward to next year? Now, I've done a number of videos on the best military sci-fi books out there, and some maybe that aren't quite the best. But I know that there's lots of good stuff out there that I'm constantly looking for and that are on my TBR. As a matter of fact, we have a list on our blog site that hasn't really been updated in quite some time. I want to take care of that. That lists some of the best military science fiction out there as recommended by you viewers, and kind of through the lens or the filter of some of the things that we've read and then what Goodreads has said as well. For this video, I'm going to cover 5 books that I am determined to finish up by the end of the year. 3 of them I have not read at all, and 2 of them are books I had not finished from previous attempts to read them, but I have reasons for not having finished them, so I'm determined to finish them by the end of the year as well. So, first on my list is The Ghost Brigades, published in 2006. This is the second book in John Scalzi's The Old Man's War series. Now, it is a point of embarrassment that I have not yet read this book, especially if you consider that just a couple weeks ago, I published a video that talked about how I got to meet John Scalzi as a book signing for his latest installment of the Old Man's War series, The Shattering Peace. And so I've read The Old Man's War, and I just haven't read the sequels to it, and I was determined to do that before the end of the year. Never got around to it. But I'm at the very least going to finish The Ghost Brigades before the end of December. Now, the first book in the series introduced us to this really fascinating world where once you turn 75 on Earth, you're able to apply to join something called the Colonial Defense Forces. And what you do from there is if you're accepted, then you are brought up into space and you are given a brand new young body that has been genetically engineered to fight. And if you survive the next 10 years, I think it was, then you get to retire with that new body, and you get to live on some off-world place because you're not allowed to come back to Earth. Now, it's a fascinating setup. I love the first book, and so I've been, eager to read The Ghost Brigades for some time. In this book, though, we transition to another character. The universe is just teeming with life, and they're so hostile. Everyone's battling each other for resources, for planets, and so Earth is constantly finding itself at war with all these different types of aliens, and each race is so completely different. Well, in this book, the 3 of the races that the Earthlings have fought, the CDF has fought in the past, have joined up in an alliance to confront humanity. So the second installment focuses around the Ghost Brigades, which is an organization that we were introduced to in the first book, and it's kind of like the special forces of the Colonial Defense Forces. The threat that's facing humanity, this alliance of three different alien races, is kind of exacerbated by the fact that there is a human traitor that's assisting them. The main character who is part of the Ghost Brigades is derived from his he finds out that he is actually cloned from this traitor, and so he's got like this special connection with the guy who is assisting the aliens, and so he may somehow hold the key to understanding what he did and what he's trying to achieve by betraying humanity. So I'm looking forward to reading this. It's a popular sequel to Old Man's War. It's a 4.1, I think, rating on Goodreads. And so looking forward to reading it and giving a full review here in a couple of weeks. That's John Scalzi's The Ghost Brigades. Now, this next book is the one that I am the most excited about. It's the book that I was referring to at the beginning of this video. A commenter recently viewed I think the very first video that I posted well over a year ago about military science fiction, and he or she left a very brief comment and led off with that I needed to read the Berserker series by Fred Saberhagen. I can't believe I had never heard about it, or if I had heard about it, I kind of had pushed it out of my mind because it wasn't anywhere on my radar. So I looked it up, and sure enough, I came across Berserker by Fred Saberhagen. The thing is that this isn't a traditional book. This book is actually started as a series of short stories that were started to be published in the early 1960s. So it's classic military science fiction. And the more I dug into it, the more excited I got. So what I'm reading now is a collection. It's kind of a republication of the first publication or collection of his stories. So in other words, they were published as a series of short stories in magazines, and then I think it was in 1967 or 68, the Berserker was compiled into a single book, and then I'm reading now this book, which is kind of a collection, is a republication of that. Now, central to the theme here is an alien force that humanity has dubbed berserkers, and they are brutal. The setup is fascinating. Long, long ago, there were a couple of alien races that were at war with each other, and they created these killing machines, some of them as big as cities, and all they did was float around in space, destroying all life in this war against each other. Now, these alien races have long ago just vanished, probably, I think, annihilated, but these berserkers remain super intelligent robotic creatures that are just floating around the galaxy looking to exterminate life. That's their mandate, destroy life. And so they eventually stumble across humanity, which has become a spacefaring race, and so it's begun attacking them. And humanity had to learn quick how to defend themselves against these massive robotic creatures that could destroy planets and have destroyed planets. So you've got this interesting situation where you got this a cruel, heartless alien attacker that really just doesn't see itself as evil. It's just doing what it was programmed to do. In a way, this reminds me a lot of Hammer Slammers, which is, I think, one of the top 5 books of all time in terms of military science fiction, because it's a collection of short stories, but the short stories almost always focus on different characters. Now, it's not nearly as gritty as Hammer Slammers, and I'm going to not go too deep into that analogy until I finish the book. I'm about a third of the way through now, and so far it's nowhere as gritty, but the science fiction is incredibly compelling. The characters are incredibly interesting. Saberhagen, he'll pivot occasionally. I've just come across one of the stories I just finished. He went from these, I think, these really intriguing, just well-written sci-fi battle kind of stories to kind of a comic or a comedy inside in the middle of it. Kind of threw me off actually. So I wouldn't say it's exactly like Hammer Slammers, but the this idea of all these kind of interrelated stories leading up and or leading us through this conflict with these berserkers is similar. You know what else it reminds me of? And I'm going to dig in a little deeper into this to see if there is a connection. But my gosh, I am reminded of Battlestar Galactica. If you are a fan of the old TV series from the 70s, you remember that the Battlestar Galactica was a war where the Cylons, the robotic Cylons, were chasing down humanity, and they were the creation of a race that had long been extinct. And so I kind of wonder if maybe Battlestar Galactica, I think his name is Greg Larson, who put that together, was inspired by Berserker. So more on that to come. But for the person who recommended Berserker to me, thank you so much. I am enjoying it immensely, and I can't wait to do a more full review here in a couple of weeks when I wrap up the next military science fiction book reviews. So next up is Courageous, which is the third installment of the Lost Fleet series. I've reviewed the first two installments of this series, Dauntless and Fearless. I enjoyed both of those. Jack Campbell, which is the pseudonym of John Henry, I think his actual name is, but he wrote these Lost Fleet series under the name Jack Campbell. He is a retired Navy officer, and that the naval flavor of this Lost Fleet series is one of the best parts about the one of the best parts about the book. In it, and I've reviewed those quite a bit. In it, you have this character by the name of John Jack Black Geary. He was a war hero in the early stages of this war between two human empires or governments, one called the Syndics and one called the Alliance. And the Alliance are the good guys, the one that Jack Black Geary fought for, and the Syndics are ones who apparently don't value democracy and that sort of thing quite as much. And so they've been at war and demonizing each other for well over a century. Well, Jack Black Geary, in a battle, he got frozen. He ejected into it. His forces were destroyed, but he was able to stave off a Syndic attack heroically. But he winds up getting frozen in this escape pod and in stasis for a century, where he's just stumbled upon and brought back into the war at a pivotal time, where the Syndics basically set up an ambush that destroyed the leadership of the fleet. And by virtue of his rank, Jack Black Geary is given command of this fleet, but he's been out of the fight for a century, and so now he's finding himself having to lead this fleet to safety. Now, the science fiction aspect of this is cool. I mean, it's a nice blend of real physical limitations, the limitations of the speed of light, and what it would be like maneuvering a massive fleet in space, to these things called jump points, which allow you to go from system to system. You just don't enter hyperspace and go home. In order to get his fleet back, he has to go through these jump points, and jump points will only go to specific areas. So he's got to make his way to a hyper jump point that will allow him to get back home. But to do so, he has to go deeper into enemy space in order to kind of throw off the pursuing forces. Okay, so that's the context, and that's what we saw through the first two books. In this third book, this is what I'm looking for here, is that I need I need the author to give us something a little bit new and a little bit fresh. The first two books, though they were both interesting and they were both different enough, the action was pretty much very, very similar. Meaning, the fleet combat and how the fleets had to kind of maneuver around each other, and you kind of had this tension built up by the delay and weapons that have to traverse great distances to impact each other, and the delay and casualty reports. It was a great tension, but it's been done now. So I'm looking for something fresh in this one, and I think that he has achieved that, and I'll tell you why. I haven't finished reading it yet, just really got started. And for those of you who have not read these books and that you think you might want to read the first two, Dauntless and Fearless, I want to tell you to go ahead and skip to the next chapter, because I want to give you, it's not a spoiler because it's on the jackets of these books, but so don't read the jackets because it kind of gives away a little piece. So, but what we seem to be getting to in this book is in the first two, they make it clear that, humanity is the only intelligent creature populating the stars, but they keep hinting that maybe there's something else out there. And it looks like in this book, those hints kind of become more salient, if not outright discovery of an alien intelligence. I'm not sure yet, but that's what the book seems to be implying. So looking forward to finishing up the Lost Fleet Courageous. Again, it's the third book in the Lost Fleet series, and I'll let you know how it stands up to the first two books here in just a couple of weeks. All right, so these next two books are both did not finish. I've talked about them before, and so I haven't finished them for a couple of reasons. First of all is On Basilisk Station, which is published in 1993 by David Weber. This is the first of the Honorverse books, the wildly popular Honorverse books. I've been meaning to read this for a while, and I've even started it, but then I had to set it aside. The story is a blend of politics and war. You're kind of introduced to a high-level meeting with these politicians and military leaders who realize that they have to seize, they have to start a war basically in order to not destabilize their empire. I forget exactly what the political structure is. I'm going to pivot over to the main character, Honor Harrington, who is a military officer in something called the Manticore Royal Navy. And she has just, I guess, pissed off all the wrong people, because even though she's a highly capable officer, she is given command of this light cruiser that is completely out of date. They're refitting it with some new weapons, but the weapons don't quite match what the mission of the light cruiser is supposed to be. So it's kind of an absurd refit of this light cruiser. And then Honor Harrington is put on duty at Basilisk Station, which is considered kind of a graveyard or a hiding place, I guess, for exiled military officers. But then it becomes pivotal to the story as the story advances. Now, when I first started reading this book, there was a lot I liked about it, but something just turned me off about it. And I think part of it, I mentioned this before, and forgive me for folks who don't like to hear this kind of thing, but I got a little annoyed by the male author's description of the female. It was a little bit too much, I think, male fantasy casting on the character. I don't know. There was something that that rubbed me wrong on it. I could have been just in a mood when I read that, and maybe I shouldn't have let that sour me. But I also, that cat got on my nerves, or whatever that creature was that was her pet. But this is a super popular book. It's a super popular series, and shame on me. I'm going to give it another chance, and so I will let you know my full review of it. If you're a fan of David Weber's Honorverse, let me know. Give me some encouragement. Tell me that it's worth the time to read it. And finally, this one, I was a little surprised that I did not finish when I first started it, because it's such a hugely popular book, and the author is such a hugely popular military science fiction writer, but it's John Ringo's A Hymn Before Battle. Now, I've had this book in my possession for a long time. I started reading it, but something kind of sapped my will to read it. And I'll tell you what it is, and and this is, again, probably very much a quirk of mine. But the reason why I didn't finish it is I got a little turned off by what I've come to think of as military lifestyle porn. What I mean by that is the author of the book spends a lot of time, I think almost gratuitous amount of time, presenting what I think of as stereotype military personalities and military jargon into the storyline, to the point to where I, as a military veteran, felt some of the tedium of military life seeping into this. And I didn't come to a book to relive tedium. Now, a lot of folks might enjoy that sort of thing because they feel it adds realism to a book. But to me, the politics behind military decisions, and it kind of grated on my nerves, because it grated on my nerves in the military. I sure as heck don't want to relive it in a book. But having said that, I had gotten to a point to where it was picking up, and I didn't gets to finish it. So I am going to finish John Ringo's A Hymn Before Battle. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. And for those of you who have read it, tell me I'm being silly. Tell me that it leaves behind that, or at the very least that the over reliance, what I thought of as an over reliance on insider military jargon and stuff. I really felt like that if you weren't part of the military, that you might get lost or a little overwhelmed by some of the military atmospherics kind of put into this book. But that's the 5th book, A Hymn Before Battle. As much as I just sound like I was being negative about it, I am excited to finally sit down and read it, and hopefully I'll have a good review for you here in the coming weeks. So that's it, guys. Those are the 5 military classics that I'm currently reading. I hope to have complete book reviews for you by the end of the year, maybe the beginning of the year. I'm beginning to plan out my TBR for 2026. So once again, if you have any good recommendations, or if there are any new books that are being published in 2026 that you're aware of, that you're excited about, drop it in the comments. I would love to know and get my eyes on what's coming out, because I'm real excited about starting a new year and getting my hands on some new books. Thanks so much for your time, guys. Have a great day. Enjoy your holidays, and we'll see you next time.